So in this case, we are going to consider as a continuation that is working on our statistics. Remember, we managed to work with the measures of central tendency, which was focused on ungrouped data or ungrouped information. So in this case, we are still working on the same concept of the measures of central tendency. What has changed is the type of information or the way our data is being given as we are dealing or we are now working with what? Grouped data, where our information or the data that we are given is a continuous information that we have. It is given in a continuous state. So whenever, before we look into what we are dealing with, measures of central tendency, this part of the grouped data, it is the information that is given as class intervals. You must understand the basic idea of how it is given, where this is a continuous. That is, we are dealing with what? A continuous data or continuous information given as class interval where x is greater than or equal to a certain number, less than a certain number that you are given. Then we start from where we ended. X is greater than or equal to 10, less than, and so on and so on. So these are what we are referring to as the class intervals. So whenever our information is given as class intervals like this, we know that we are dealing with what? Grouped information, which is basically represented on a frequency table. Remember, we have a frequency table on ungrouped data. There is a frequency table, remember, where you can just write maybe this is the corresponding, and then there's a frequency, just the numbers that you're given. This is 2, this is 2 corresponding to 4, this is 3 corresponding to 1. This, guys, those numbers, whatever information, the way that it is given is not in this format of class intervals. Yes, it is on a frequency table, but of what? Ungrouped data. The grouped data also is represented on a frequency table, but having what? Class intervals. So be very careful, because as we shall be talking about these measures of central tendency, we shall be going through these class intervals. You must be very careful. So like I said, before we look into the major part of our topic, I just want us to understand the presentation and understanding of our grouped data, which is given as class intervals. So as a class interval, what does it represent if I'm given a class interval like this? It represents the lower class and the upper class. So these are like the boundaries of the class. So we have got the lower class boundary, just lower class, okay? Which is the lower class boundary, and also the upper class boundary of the given class interval, where we can even try to figure out the class center or the class midpoint of the given interval. We can determine the midpoint of the class midpoint, which is taken by adding the lower class to the upper class, we divide by 2. So that is the lower class plus the upper class divided by 2, with the way our information will be represented. It is important for you to understand the concept. We also have the width of the class, how big the class is, of which that part I'm not gonna be into it because we need, or we are going to be focusing majorly on the what? The measures of central tendence. Remember, we talked about this in our previous classes when we're dealing with ungrouped data. I say this is the clustering of data around the central or the mid values. As long we are dealing with the measures of central tendence, that is the clustering of what? Of data. That is the clustering of data around. All right. So this is around central or mid values. So as we are dealing with the measures of central tendence, we know, guys, what we are dealing with. We talked about these before. Calculation, that this involves calculation of the mean value. So as we deal with the grouped data, it is referred to as the estimate mean. That is the mean estimate, average value. It involves determining or identification of the mode. So in this case, we are referring to the modal class, the interval. The modal interval, class interval. The measures of central tendence involves the issue of the median, as we had it before from our ungrouped data. So in this case, we are talking about the interval in which the median lies. So we also refer to the median. That is the interval where the median lies. So those are the three aspects that you are supposed to understand as long we're dealing with what? Measures of central tendence. So the way how to calculate or how to determine is what is important now. How to determine, how to calculate the mean estimate. We talked about these guys before when we're dealing with ungrouped information. But what has changed now is we're dealing with what? Grouped information. Remember, for ungrouped data, we said the mean can simply be taken from the sum of the terms, sum of the x terms over the number of terms. You simply add all the x terms that you're given over the number of terms. But as we are referring to the grouped data now, the mean value, all right? So in this case, the mean value, remember the mean value represented by x bar like this, is calculated from the sum of, guys, we are now used to this symbol, the sum of. You multiply the frequency to the class midpoints. So the x is not the terms. This one, it represents the class midpoints. F for the frequency. Remember, F is for the frequency. So you add the product of the frequency to the midpoints. Everything over what? The sum of the frequencies. You add the frequencies, the sum of the frequency. That's the formula now. So it's simply, in other words, we are talking about sum of what? Products. Sum of products of what? Sum of products of what? Frequency and midpoints. Over what? Sum of frequencies. Frequencies. This is the concept. You add the products of what? Frequency and midpoints. So meaning to say, whenever we are to have the mean, the formula is needed. So I'm going to show you the adjustments that we are going to do on the calculation as we are going to be working with the examples. We also refer to or work with the mod, guys, as we do understand whenever we are dealing with the mod. So in this case, we are dealing with the modal class or the modal interval. That is the interval with highest frequency. So that's the interval with highest frequency. Highest frequency. All right. We also talk about the median, where we are referring the median class, where the class which carries or which has the median value. Just like what we had from the ungrouped data, there is a position for that median. We work this one from a position where it is to be situated. So the first thing is the position for the median value, which is half of n plus 1. So we referred to this formula before. So you work from the position. So remember, n simply represents the total what? Frequency. You add all the given frequencies, add as it is given. So first it is the position. Then you can locate the value from that position. So from position, so from the position, locate, all right, locate the median class. Locate the interval. Locate the interval which has the median, which is locate the interval. Let's just locate the interval so that we do not confuse you guys with a lot of things there. Just locate the interval. That is where the median lies in that interval. Okay? So they can ask you to determine the exact median. So the exact median will be taken from the average of that interval that you're given. If it is a condition for an exact median value, for an exact median value, okay, find the average. Find the average from what? From the interval or the class interval, from the interval above. The interval that we determine, the class interval. You determine or you find the average. Remember, average, guys, is just like we're given x is greater than or equal to 10, less than or equal to 20. So average, now you add these two, divide by 2. When they want the median, exact median. But when they say the median interval, you just locate that, you're done. So these are two things, guys. Okay, I'm going to explain with examples. And I think, guys, this one is just a repetition. The only difference there is the presentation of the data. So this is what we're going to be dealing with as we are working with the measures of what? Central tendency for the grouped data, grouped now. So questions can be given in this format. Find the estimated mean, the median, the mode of the data given below. So we are given the class intervals, their corresponding frequencies. This is what we are given. From here, we need an estimated mean. So how can we determine the mean, the estimated mean? Remember from our formula, the estimated mean can be calculated from what? The sum of the products of frequency times midpoint, frequency and midpoints, over what? Total of the frequencies. So on the table here, The frequencies are given. We can determine or we can find the total. But we do not have the total now for the frequency and midpoint. The product of frequency to the midpoints is not there. So there is a need for us to make adjustments on our table to have the midpoints and the product of frequency and what? Midpoint. So always, this is what you're going to do for this to be easier for you to answer the question. You make adjustments. As we can see, we need the midpoints. For us to have the product of these two, first, we are going to need what? The midpoint. So we're going to add 2 columns on our given information. All right. So let us just try and see if this one is going to help us. Let us just try and have 2 columns. So you just have to add 2 columns, one for the midpoints, and the other one is going to be for the product of the two, which is the product of the frequency to the midpoints. All right. So 2 columns, like I said, they are going to be enough. All right. So here, let's just hope it is not going to affect our presentation, but just continue as it is. These lines, just continue them as they are. So you can just construct another table which has got these 2 adjustments, the midpoints and what? The products. So something like this. All right. We also have this one. All right. So this is what we are having according to the information. So here I'm just going to need the total for these 2. So let me just leave this one. All right. Let me leave this one. So I'm going to need the total of these. So remember, we made the adjustment of what? The midpoints. So that is the midpoint. So actually for the midpoint, that is, it can be represented by what? By X. So you can just represent that one by X, or even some other textbook or even question papers, they can put X there instead of writing midpoint. Then here, they will write this one as F times X. Remember, midpoint is what? Is X. This is the part that we need here. Frequency times midpoints, F times X. So wherever you see that F times X, it is representing what? Frequency times the midpoint. So that's F times X. Frequency times the midpoint. X, this one, for the midpoint. So meaning to say we must find the midpoints first in order for us to have this last part. Because there is a formula for the what? The midpoint. Remember I said these ones can be calculated. If we are given a class interval, the class midpoint can be determined lower class boundary plus upper class boundary over what? Over 2. So meaning to say we can calculate each of these midpoints. All right, let's start with the class interval from 0 to 20. So this is what you do on your calculator. That's from point. Okay, so I'm just gonna need this part. All right. So on our calculator, we're gonna have a fraction. Then we add the lower class boundary that we have, which is what? Which is 0, plus the upper class, which is what? Which is 20. Then everything over what? Over 2 from the formula that we are given. So that's a 10. Okay, so this was going to give us a 10. You do the same thing from 20 to 40. You add these 2, then divide by 2. So that was going to give us 30. From 40 to 60, that's a 50. From 60 to 80, you do the same thing. That's a 70. 80 to 100, that was going to give us what? A 90. You add, then divide by 2. The last column that we have is for the what? The product, frequency times midpoint. So there is a frequency corresponding midpoint like this. You multiply these two as they are. The answer is written here. So that's 6 times what? Times 10. So that is going to give us a 60. 8 times 30, which is going to give us 240. All right, 10 and 50, which is going to give us 500. 3 and 70, which is going to give us 210. 2 and 90, which is going to give us 180. That is the product. So the formula from what we had here, we need the sum. Summation, this one, sum of. Remember, sum of. We must add those. Frequency times what? Midpoint. The sum. What is the sum? So already here, we can see the frequency times midpoint, but we must add these. 60 plus 240 plus 500 plus 210 plus 180 you add. That was going to give you 1,190. We also have on our formula the sum of what? The frequency. From the frequencies. So from these frequencies that you are given, you must add them. 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 3 plus 2. Add everything. That was going to give you a 29. So these two can give us the estimated mean of the grouped data. So from these guys, the estimated mean is going to be what? From the formula that we are given, we are simply going to substitute the sum of these frequency times midpoint. We calculated, this is the sum, the total. We got 1,190 over what? The sum of the frequencies. This is what we have, which is what? 29. So that is it. You can use your calculator. In this case, 1,190 over what? Over 29. So that's as a decimal 41.03 to 2 decimal places. You can even fix this number 6, then press 2 to 2 decimal places. That's 41.03. Okay, so that's our estimated mean, 41.03. So this is how these questions are given as. All you just need is to be very careful. The presentation that you're given, you have got your mean value. All right, we also need the median. So in this case, they did not identify, they did not actually mention to say the median class interval. I want us to see the difference between this question here. In which class interval does the median lie? There's a difference when they just say determine the median. So we must determine the class interval first, then we determine the median. So I'm going to do this question later on. So that is what we are supposed to be very careful when it is like this. First, it is to determine the median, the class interval where the median lies. So remember, I said for this one, we must work with what? The position first. The position where the median lies. All right, so for this one, for the median, first let us deal with its position. So the position, as we say, that's half of n plus 1, which is our n from the total frequency that we are given. That's 29. All right, so that's 29 plus 1, which was going to give us 30. So half of 30, which is what? 15. So that's the 15th position. We must locate the 15th position according to the presentation that we are given. The mid value is going to be from that 15. So we count up to where 15 is. Where this 15 is. So in this case, you can count from this side going down, or you can count from down going up. It is up to you. All right. So let's say we are starting from the top, from the frequencies. You count from the frequency. Now you have to locate the interval. This is the condition of locating the interval. All right. So starting from 6, we add 6 plus 8. All right. So if we add 6 plus 8, we can see that we are still less than the 15, because this is going to give us a 14. We are still less than 15 here. So if we add this, we are at what? At 14. Then we add 14 plus what? Plus 10. The moment we add 14 plus 10, what are we going to get? 24. We have already exceeded the 15th value, because 24, the 15th value is there inside. Because as you are counting, guys, it was 14, then you add 1 from this one, it's now 15. So 15 is occurring in this class interval. The 15th value is going to be found within this class interval. Where you get the 15th value. Okay, it was going to, either way, guys, we could have started from the end class here, from this end value 2, going up. So let's count 2. We are still less than 15. Okay, so we are going to count 2. We add 3. 2 plus 3, that's what? That's 5. We are still less than 15. Then we add to 10. 5 plus 10, that's 15. 15 is occurring. This, from this side, it is occurring exactly. We are finding the 15th value there. In which class interval? Same thing. So you can count from any direction. Any direction. So this is the class interval in which the median lies. So the median lies in this interval as it is given. X is greater than 40, but less than or equal to 60. That is where the median lies. The median lies in that class. It's found there. So when the question is like, now determine the median, like what we have there, we can now use the concept of the average now for us to have, it is like finding the exact median value, where you can add the lower class to the upper. It's just like the class center, the concept of the class center. So you can add 40 plus 60 over 2. So that's 100 over 2, which is what? Which is 50. So the median will be 50 when it is a condition of finding the exact value, like what we are given to say, find the median. Know the difference between this question. In which class interval? There you must write the class interval X is greater than this. The way that it is given, you end there. You add there. So there are 2 typical questions that you must be careful of in your answering of the questions. All right. Then moving on to the last part, which is the mode. So in this case, it is the modal class, the class where we are having what? The highest frequency. On these frequencies, do not worry about what we had on the other hand. Focus on the frequency, where the frequency is on these frequencies. Which one is the highest frequency. So on the frequencies, if we are to notice properly here, highest frequency is 10. So meaning to say the class that has that 10 is the model class. All right. So the model class, which is the model interval, will be what? X is greater than 40, but less than or equal to 60. You now answer that way. So you have to find, it is determining or finding the class interval which has got the highest frequency. The highest frequency. So those are the typical questions, guys. Do as many questions as you can, as you can work on this question. Another question that we are given here, we have got a stopwatch was used to find the times that it took a group of athletes to run 100 meters. Okay. Class intervals, that is the time in seconds, and also the frequency, which is the number of what? Athletes. Number one, calculate the estimated mean. Look at the information. This is grouped data. As we do understand working with the grouped data, how to calculate the estimate mean, we are going to need adjustments on our table. All right, so let us just make our adjustments. All right, let's hope it's not gonna affect here. All right, no problem. No problem. Let me do this way, because it's gonna no problem. No problem. Let me just do this way. Make an adjustment. But that's the problem now of this line. It is not giving the way that I want. So let me just do the free end. Right, no problem, guys. You're gonna have something like this. Something of this nature. All right. Something of this nature. So remember, on this one, we just need two columns, which is of the midpoints, the X values, which represents what? The midpoint. So those are our X values. Then the product of the frequency, this one, to the midpoint. So that's F times X. Okay, we need the product. So let's work out, guys. From 10 to 15, what is the midpoint? So we add 10 plus 15 over 2. Do this, guys, on your calculator. Everything on your calculator. Just put a fraction, 10 plus 15, everything over 2 like this. So that was going to give us 12,5. All right, so we've got a midpoint of 12,5. From 15 to 20, you do the same thing, 17,5. From 20 to 25, that was going to give us 22,5. Then from 25 to 30, that was going to give us 27,5. All right, so guys, this one, all right, okay. Now it has taken all my information. I don't know, guys, why this is affecting my presentation now, but let's see. Let me just quickly have those values again. So we said 12,5, 17,5, 22,5, and 27,5. Okay, so these were our midpoints. Okay, the X values. Then frequency times our midpoints. All right, so then we're going to multiply 6 to 12,5. You have the product, that's 75, 16 and 17,5, which is 280, 21 and 22,5, which is 472,5, 8 and 27,5, which is 220. So we are going to need the total of the frequency times midpoint, the total of what? The frequencies, as we've got our formula before. So working with the frequency to the midpoint, the total was going to be 1047.5. Okay. Then for the frequencies, this was going to give us what? 51. So meaning to say, we can calculate or determine the estimated mean from there, as we do understand our formula, the sum of the frequencies to the midpoints over the sum of the frequencies, which is frequency and midpoint. Remember, we calculated this was 1047.5. Everything over the sum of the frequencies, which we got 51. So that's, use your calculator, guys. You're going to obtain 20.54 to 2 decimal places. Then number 2, the model class, the class in which we are having what? The highest frequency, class interval, that is got highest frequency. So like I said, we just focus on the frequencies. Highest frequency, there is what? 21. The corresponding class becomes our model class, where 21 is, it is found where? From 20 to 25, right as it is given. All right, so that's x is greater than, as it is given, it was 20, but less than 25. Okay, from 20 to 25, where there is the highest frequency from the given data. So that is, you are supposed to be very careful on how to answer the questions. All right. Then on the other hand, in which class interval, take note, in which class interval does the median lie? So first, the position. We need the position of that median, which is half of n plus 1. So how many terms? The total frequency, 51. 51. So that's 51 plus 1, which was going to be 52. If we add this, that was going to give us 52, half of this, which is what? 26. So that's the 26th position. This is the position where we are going to determine where we are going to have the class interval. So in this case, the median class interval will be what? That's answering the question. Where we are going to have the 26th position, the 26th value, counting from any direction. Is it from the top going down, from down going to the top? Anyway, where are we going to have 26? So if we are to count from the top, let us see, let me do this way. If we are to count from the top here, let's say this is 6. We are still less than 26. We add 16. What are we going to have? 6 plus 16. 22. We are still less than 26. 6 plus 16. We are at what? 22. 22 plus 21. If we add 22 plus 21, that's 43. As we can see, guys, 43, we have exceeded the 26th value. So the 26th value is there within this interval. That is where it is going to be found. Where it occurs. Okay, let us count from the other hand. From 8, we are still less than 26. We are not yet at the 26th position. So we add 8 plus 21, which is 29. So as you can see, guys, we have exceeded the 26th value. So it is occurring, it is appearing there within the 26th value, where we now take the class interval that is represented there. So that's our class interval where the median do lie. which is from 20. So that's x is greater than or equal to 20, but less than 25. So do revise as many questions as you can. You see, guys, it is going to be a repetition. A repetition. They will ask these typical questions, try to have a basic ways, whatever, but do revise as many questions so that you can be able to understand how questions are going to be given as we are working with the measures of central tendons on our grouped data. So just also work with the ungrouped data, compare how these questions, how do they differ? Questions of the ungrouped and questions of the grouped data. So that is it, guys. Till we meet again.